Okay. Well, good afternoon. Welcome. This is the Lehigh County Authority Board of the meeting. Today is Monday, November 13, 2023. The meeting has been held in the hybrid fashion. And the people either here live in person or remotely via Zoom meeting. Lisa, can we go to the roll call for the board of directors, please?
Sure thing. Roll call of the board, Brian Noggle. Brian, you're on mute.
I'm here. Finally.
Amir Famili.
Here.
Ted Lyons. Linda Rosenfeld. Here. Norma Cusick.
Here.
Kevin Baker. Jeff Morgan.
Here.
Sean Ziller.
Here.
Mark Gramus. All right, we have 6 board members present. That is a quorum.
Cool. Thank you. The package was sent in advance, either by mail, both was in the mail and the email, and also was posted on the website. Good to review the agenda. Lisa, any changes to the agenda, any need for the executive session, please?
All right, so today there are no changes to the agenda. I just would like to note there are a lot of items. So we'll work through it together to make sure we stay on track with the items. Also, there was an executive session held prior to the start of this meeting to discuss litigation matters with legal counsel.
Thank you for the update. Let's go to review to approval of the minutes. I think we need to approve the minutes from last 2 meetings for the October 9th and October 23rd, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, I'd like to do that, should I do them separately? Can I do them together?
You can do them together if you want.
That, both board meeting minutes, should be approved.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor, say yeah.
I,
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm still in a different time zone. I'm trying to wake up with the 10 hours time difference that moving to the next items. Any public comment on the items which is not on the agenda?
I have no comment, thanks.
Right. Okay. Now let's move to the action items on the agenda. The first item is PFAS class action settlement.
The board has received an update on the PFAS, or the 3M and DuPont PFAS class action proceedings, and there's a proposed settlement that has occurred, which would require the authority to either participate in it or opt out. Would the board like for me to propose a motion based on what I understand the board's intentions concerning this matter? Okay, the proposed motion would be motion that the authority opt out of the proposed 3M and DuPont PFAS class action settlements and authorize the authority, CEO, CFO, and or special counsel to execute and serve or file any necessary or convenient documentation to effectuate opting out of the proposed settlements.
I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, Sean made motion.
Yeah.
Linda seconded. Thank you. Any comment? No, thank you. All in favor, say aye, please.
I,
Aye.
Didn't ask for any opposition.
Any opposition?
Sure, thank you.
Everybody say aye. I said, I'm safe, I said aye, so I'm saying.
Thank you.
Next one is the authority solicitor contract. Is in, I'll call it a mustard color, maybe a goldenrod colors. It is on the digital board package, page 12 to 18. I know it's a long pages today, but please bear with me. I will try to read the number, the page numbers as we go through them. Diesel?
Sure, thank you. So just by way of background, King Spry was appointed as Lehigh County Authority's solicitor at the end of 2019 when our in-house solicitor, Brad Landon, retired. And so they've been acting as our solicitor, and primarily Mike Gall is at the table today, and have done an admirable job as our solicitor. However, it's our understanding there's some staffing change or structural change at King Spry that Mike will no longer be serving as our solicitor at the end, after the end of the calendar year. So we took the opportunity to, after 4 years of service, just take some time to look at the services that we're receiving and get some proposals from other firms in addition to King Spry, so we could see just that we're competitive and that we're getting the service that we need. So we did receive 3 proposals, and I'm sorry, we received 5 proposals. We interviewed 3 firms that we thought were really well qualified for our work. And at the end of the day, King Spry's proposal really seemed to fit well with our organization. And we believe that they'll be able to continue to meet our needs. The primary change is who would be named as our primary solicitor, which is Kevin Reed. Kevin is in the room if you have questions for him. Kevin has served as bond counsel for us for quite a long time and is known to many of our board members. So we have a strong relationship there and a good relationship with the firms. So we expect the service will continue to be good for LCA.
Lisa, I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it appropriate to have our counsel there while we're discussing about them?
So it is a little weird, isn't it? So King
Well,
Spry.
in case anybody on the board has any questions or comments, it might be appropriate if they would leave the room and we can talk openly.
I think that's the board's call. Mike Gall, however, is our solicitor through the end of the year. So I just want to throw that out. It's kind of about 2 different things. So
Sure.
Mr. Chairman or Vice Chairman.
Sorry, Amir.
No, Brian, that's a good comment. I think, except Mike, the other gentleman has stepped outside, so we can have discussions and questions, everyone. But, you know, as Lisa said, Mike today is a role as a solicitor sitting here, not as a future. So I think maybe his presence is needed for this discussion. If a board member feel differently, you know, we can go a different direction.
Well, I do feel that Mike should not be in the room. And nothing personal, Mike. I think you're great. So I just thought it'd be better.
That's fine. I'd be glad to step out, and I completely understand, so.
Thanks, Mike.
Sorry about that. I wanted to know if we're losing Mike entirely, or if he's going to be available for just some continuity after the end of the year, or he's gone.
My understanding is that Mike is staying with the firm and he'll be available as needed, but he's transitioning into some other roles and with other clients. So he'll be in the background, not in the forefront for us.
Okay, then please go on with your presentation.
I have a question. Would this be under personnel in a closed session, or are we allowed to discuss this in a public meeting?
This is a contract. For
Okay.
service, so it's really not, we're not hiring a in-house person, so I don't know that it would fit under personnel.
Okay. Just clarifying.
Yeah, I didn't plan a detailed presentation because the group is familiar with King Spry and we're familiar with Kevin Reed. I'm certainly happy to answer any questions you have about their proposal or the other two firms that we interviewed if there are questions.
Detail of the proposal, everything is in this package, the golden or mustard color that we got. Any question from board member regarding the proposal and decision that Liesel has brought forward to the board?
This is Brian again, sorry. Mike has been like the almost exclusive presenter and attendee at these board meetings. Will the new representatives have one person showing up most of the time, or they're going to do a tag team, or what was your understanding?
So our understanding is that Kevin Reed will be our primary solicitor. We will see him all the time. However, one of the things that we were looking forward to really is having broader access to a broader team at King Spry. So we've seen Rich Campbell attend from time to time, and he's been working actively with our staff on various matters. So we might expect to see Rich attend from time to time. Or as we saw in some other cases, we might have, they have labor attorneys, they have litigation, et cetera. So we would bring into the meeting whoever we felt we needed to, but Kevin Reed would be our primary point of contact.
Okay, I think all that sounds good. One final question is, we had talked initially about hiring our own counsel instead of going outside. And you want to touch on that just for a couple minutes?
Sure. So a couple things come to mind with that question, Brian. Number one is that the in-house solicitor position was incorporated into the 2024 budget. We have not begun a search for that at this point. So if we're able to search and find a candidate that can do the breadth of the work that we need, we can certainly bring that back to the board at that time. However, I think our feeling is that's going to be very difficult. We're still going to need outside counsel for some of the specialty areas that we need. I think the other thing as well to point out is that not that we have an expectation this would happen, but King Spry's proposal and their engagement includes a 30-day termination. So at any point down the line, if they're not meeting our needs, or if we find in-house counsel that we want to hire, we want to make a change, we have a lot of flexibility with King Spry to do that.
Any other
Okay,
questions?
I'm done.
Oh, go ahead, Brian, please. Go ahead, please, Brian.
No, I said I'm done. Those are the questions I had. I just felt a little uncomfortable having Mike there, so we can bring him back in if you're ready for that.
Let's see other board member have a question. Sean, go ahead, please.
Yeah, can you hear me still, or? Okay, Liesel, can you just, if it's available and it's willing to share, can you provide, for the other two firms that were interviewed, pricing on their rates for services?
Yeah, I was really surprised or pleasantly surprised that the pricing was almost identical for all three proposals. The major difference really in terms of pricing was that King Spry has included a retainer type arrangement. So we pay a flat amount per year for a certain number of hours or a certain amount of services that are listed, and then we pay per hour thereafter. Whereas the other proposals were just on an hourly basis, but the hourly rates were almost identical for all three proposals.
Thank you.
Any other question regarding this proposal? Norma?
No questions.
So we have to put this one to the vote. Is that correct or not?
Yeah, when we had retained King Spry as our new solicitor,
This is contract.
we did, more so because it's an official position of the
Okay.
authority to appoint a solicitor, that we'd like to have that be a board action.
So we have a proposal in front of us to engage King Spry to be our solicitor for it's a year contract, is that least?
It goes through 2026.
For 2 years, 2026. Can we, somebody make the motion?
I move.
Okay,
I'll
Lee?
second it.
thank you. Linda, and Norm seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any objection, opposition? Motion approved. And you ask them to remove now?
Thank you.
So you can motivate for the next one. Thank you. Next one that we have in front of us is the water and wastewater rate schedule is on the pink paper. And it is on the digital board package, page number 19 through 40. So,
Thank you. So for the water and wastewater rate schedules, what we typically do every year is review the rates multiple times through the budget process and incorporate the results of those rate analyses into the budget process, so that when we get to this point of actually approving the rate schedules, there's no surprises, there's no changes. So I don't have a detailed presentation for you on the rates because we have seen it several times already. Just wanted to highlight a couple of things. First of all, a couple of pages into the memo, there's a one-page chart that shows the proposed 2024 rates and the bill samples for various service areas within LCA's service areas, within LCA's service area. So you'll see both water and wastewater charges to a typical residential customer living in Upper Milford Township, for example, versus Lower Lieutenant Township, the Allentown Division, and then some of our northern tier systems where like Heidelberg or Washington Township, where the rates are a bit higher. So you can see across the LCA service area, there are some differences in water and sewer rates. And that's primarily because of the financial structures that we have, as well as for the small systems, the need to recover the cost to operate those systems from a smaller customer base. The Allentown division rates are more of an anomaly because they fall within the terms and methods included in the 50-year lease agreement with Allentown. So that page shows within LCA service area the different charges that customers would experience. And then the next page of the packet shows a bar chart of the water and sewer rates combined for 24 communities across the Lehigh Valley, including LCA service areas. So you'll see that LCA service areas are shown in the yellow bars on that graph. And we have some that are definitely on the low end. We have some like the city of Allentown and Lynn Township that are right in the middle in terms of the spread of rates across the Lehigh Valley. And we do have some of those northern tier systems that are on the higher end. However, the two that are shown on the far right side of the graph are two communities that are served by private for-profit water utilities. And you can see there's a big rate difference there. And I think it's important for the public to understand that. All the pages that follow the memo and those two charts and graphs are the actual official rate schedules that are published to our website and the various charges or changes to the rates that are proposed. These are all rate changes that we reviewed in some detail during the budget process. So, and they're highlighted in the gray shaded areas. And we have some changes proposed for water volume rates for suburban water, public fire protection. We also have changes proposed for the Allentown water rates in accordance with the lease agreements. For the wastewater rate schedule, we've incorporated the rate changes that were included in the Western Lehigh user charge report. And then also the Allentown wastewater rate charges. So happy to take any questions that you might have and ask for the board's consideration of these changes for 2024.
Any question from board member?
Yep, just a less of a question. I think it's important just for the public record. Lisa, relative to the city of Allentown, can you maybe define, we've talked about it, I think, over and over, but can you define the capital cost recovery charge and how that's determined?
Yeah, absolutely, Sean. The capital cost recovery charge is first of all, it's a defined term in the lease agreement. And essentially what it does is it takes larger projects that are over a certain cost threshold. Right now, that cost threshold is about $1.2 million. Those projects need to be reviewed and approved by the city as being critical for the system. And then LCA completes the projects and charges a recovery charge through the rate in accordance with the formula that's included in the lease agreement. So there's a collection of projects that LCA has completed over the last 10 years that are included in that capital cost recovery charge. And then there's a recovery period of 20 to 30 years, depending on the project, that those rates would apply for each project.
Thank you.
Any other question from the board member? So we have a proposal in front of us for the water and wastewater rate schedule that we seek approval from the board. Have a motion and second.
I'll make the motion.
Norman, a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, Sean made the second. Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? No? Okay, approved.
If I could just, with these rates being approved, notification will start to go out, and notification is already out on our website and to our customers. But we'll bring back to the board any public comments that we receive before they go into effect in January.
And kudos to the teams. Putting these things together is not easy every year. The accuracy and the due diligence that the team does. So thank you for clarity and bringing this forward to the board. And last item we have on the finance and administration is the board meeting schedule. I know everybody has it on their calendar.
I did want to, if I could just point out a couple of things on the board meeting schedule, which Lisa Miller has put together for us, as she does every year, does a good job with this. For May, because of the Memorial Day holiday, we put the two meetings 1 week apart. So May 13th and May 20th. And then December, we just listed the one meeting, which is typical because we try to avoid that holiday week at the end of the year.
We need to get approval for the schedule?
Yes, we do. So we can advertise it.
Correct.
Yes.
So we're seeking approval for the board meeting schedule for 2024. It's on the salmon paper. We have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Thank you, Norman.
Second.
I think Linda beats you, Jeff, sorry. Okay. Any opposition to the schedule? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you for putting the schedule together. I appreciate that, considering all the changes. I think we have completed the finance and administration topics. We're gonna move to the water-led programs. So in front of us, we have the resolution number 11, 2023, one Penn West reimbursement for the lead service line cycle 1 project. Seeking approval for that on the gray document on the digital board package, page 42 to page 44. Lisa, it's all yours.
Thank you. So this resolution is a standard form of resolution for Penvest funded projects. And essentially what it does is it allows us to spend funds from our general fund. And then when we have the Penvest settlement for the grant or the loan, we reimburse ourselves. And this is something that Penvest needs to have on file as part of the settlement process. Because we're doing some other authorizations related to the lead program, our solicitor gave advice to do this resolution now. Our settlement on the Penvest loan won't be until April, so we will be spending some funds in advance of settlement to get the project put together. Mike, do you have anything else you want to say about that?
It's a standard document. You've done it before for Penvest finances.
Have you had any cases that Penvest was not able to fulfill their commitment because of budget changes in the past?
We have not.
Yeah.
We have not. Penvest is really, when they award the grant or award the loan, they've committed those funds to the project. So really just the devil's in the details when we get to finally closing to make sure we have all the right paperwork together. But those funds are committed to this project.
Okay. Any question from the board member, please?
This is Brian. The resolution deals specifically with Allentown. Are we going to, is there something we're also going to do for Suburban with regard to the funding or the shared use of these funds?
Right, so for this project or for this loan and grant application, it had to be specific to a project. So the project that we submitted to Penvest was for 150 service lines in Allentown, in a specific portion of the town of Allentown. And that's what the funding was awarded for by Penvest. If we are going to do other projects in our suburban division, we would need to develop the scope of that project and apply to Penvest for funding for that project. But this project for Penvest is specific to those homes in Allentown that we're part.
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from the board member?
Let me read the title.
Please.
Yeah, so it's a proposed resolution number 11-2023-1, reimbursement resolution. Declaration of official intent to reimburse its general fund used to plan, design, and construct the replacement of publicly owned and privately owned lead service lines located in the water distribution system in the city of Allentown with funds received from the Penvest Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority.
Amen.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second,
Thank you, Norma. So the resolution was moved by Linda and approved by second by Norma. All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Any objections? No? So moved. So many color we have today, I think. we're running out of color.
That's blue.
Next one, is a lead service line inventory program and compliance planning. Which is led by Chuck, you leading that? Yep. Thanks, Mayor. Lisa, you have to say anything before?
Well, I just want to be clear, but based on Brian's question earlier, that this authorization is not part of the Penvest funded project. This is a separate effort, all part of the lead program generally. Go ahead, Chuck.
Right, I'm sorry, just this is in the blue package, digital package, page 45 to 50. Please, Chuck.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. This project is to perform a lead service line inventory for both Allentown Division and Suburban Division. You'll see two separate capital project authorizations or two separate professional service authorizations. We're keeping them separate because of the budgeting. The inventory, this is the planning phase, and the inventory is required to be submitted to DEP by the middle of next October. Something that Andrew is very familiar with. Andrew's part of this project as well. And what we are proposing is to hire a consultant to assist us with accomplishing this inventory. In Allentown, we're going to use some predictive modeling. That's why you see the fee is significantly higher in Allentown for the consultant. And that's to use some artificial intelligence to help predict and prioritize the replacement of the public side and the private side of these lead service lines. So we looked at various consultants, and we feel that GHD is very qualified for this project. This project it includes future population workshop with us, the inventory work, the GIS inventory framework, and prioritize planning, and then there's on-call services as needed to round out the inventory task. This project is a change of law, so as such for the city, it will be funded via the change of law fee that will be added to future customers' bills for the city. Okay, so this approval is to do the inventory for both the Allentown and Suburban, and then, like I said, to satisfy the DEP requirement to get it to them by the middle of next October. And so, yeah, I'm asking for approval for the capital project authorizations, one for the city and one for Suburban. For the city in the amount of $153,000, which includes $108,000 for consultant GHD, and then for Suburban, capital project authorization of $68,000, which includes $48,000 for the consultant GHD's efforts. Any questions?
What is a change of law? What does
Well,
that mean?
It's a term of art in the concession agreement. So it allows the cost of complying with the change of law to be added to the rates. It is a term, sometimes that's contained in contracts that are particularly lengthy in years, because you can't foresee everything that's gonna happen.
Okay.
Any other question from board members? Chuck, one quick question. So we don't have an accurate inventory of all our service line which are containing lead. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a partial inventory.
And how they go about to figuring out is the composition of the line is a lead or not? Is that through?
Often it's a physical visit to the property and maybe.
Yeah, so we do have a good sizable amount of data from previous records. There was a meter replacement project back in 2013.
Yes.
Where the composition was recorded back then. However, the DEP guidelines on what information you can use varies a little bit. And just because you have a record does not necessarily mean that it's good enough for this inventory. So they have a full flow chart of how you go about verifying. And one of those methods is using predictive modeling. So since we do have some field verification, the predictive modeling helps reassure that. And it also feeds that data into the model in order to help make it more accurate.
So at the end of this project, we would have, the consultant would go through that predictive modeling and would tell us this line contains lead or not, so we would have a complete inventory at the end.
We would have a complete inventory that is not necessarily field verified, but we would have an inventory of the entire system.
It's not field verified.
Not everything would be field verified.
So do we need to go through a secondary phase based on the mandate from the law to verify that or not?
That's a difficult question to answer right now. And really that's based off of, we are expecting an additional lead and copper rule by the end of this year. It's going to be called the lead and copper rule improvements.
Okay.
So there could be some additional requirements in that. We really don't have too much information on what
Okay.
that is going to entail though.
Yeah, we're just trying to clarify what is this approval?
No,
for?
and just to clarify, having an inventory, you're not necessarily required to have a complete inventory. So it is okay to have unknown service lines throughout the system. Having unknown lines does have some downfalls though, because not only are your lead service lines, but the unknowns take into account replacement rates if you do exceed a action or a trigger level.
Thank you for explanation, Andrew.
The inventory should enable us to prioritize annual projects.
Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, that's a good point. Yes. So we have a proposal in front of us, seeking approval for lead service line inventory program and compliance planning for Allentown division and suburban divisions. Seeking a total of $68,000 for suburban and $156,000 for Allentown division. Is that correct?
68,000 for suburban, 153 for Allen.
150, correct, $153,000 for Allentown division. Yes, thank you. We have a motion for this proposal.
So moved.
Yeah,
I'll second it. Brian,
thank you, Brian. All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
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 Well, thank you. So the motion moved. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew and Chuck. Now we go to yellow. This is another water lead program items. It's a lead service line replacement program, cycle 1. It is a yellow package, digital pages 51 to 54.
Yes, thank you, Amir. This is for what we call the cycle 1 project to remove public and private lead services. This is the first project for the city, and this is what you approved the PennVest reimbursement resolution that this is for, that was for this project, okay? So this project, we're proposing to use Gannett Fleming as the design engineer. Gannett Fleming has significant experience with our city water system. They are the designers on every annual water main replacement project that we do. The scope of this project is to replace about 150 lead service lines, which includes both the public and the private side. And there's some additional investigatory work that their design would include as well. So this would basically allow us to construct the first project. We would expect completion of this design in the spring, and then bidding this project to complete this project by the end of next year for the first cycle. It's sort of a pilot project. We're going to see how this goes, and I'm sure there'll be some lessons learned at the conclusion of, cycle one that we can apply to cycle two, which would be the following year then. So what I'm asking for is a capital project authorization in the amount of $225,700, and $125,700 of that is the Gannett Fleming's design fee and the professional services authorization. There's a significant amount of staff time included in the capital project authorization, and that's to assist to facilitate some private side investigations, our operations folks. So I'm asking for approval of the CPA and which includes the Gannett Fleming PSA.
Thank you, John. Any question from the board member? Question, because of lack of my understanding. Instead of replacing the lead line, can we do a CIPP and cover the line so there's no lead leaching to the water, or you can't do that?
There's no, I don't believe there's technology. The lines are too small.
The
To
lines are too small.
line, maybe Jason, I don't know if you want to line it.
That's absolutely right. There's two, you need a larger diameter pipe to do like a spray and lining like you're talking about. But Andrew, you may be able to hit up on this too. For us to get credits, we have to do a full on removal of that material, correct?
Yes, that would be accurate.
Thank you. So seeking approval for the amount of $225,700 for the lead service line replacement program, cycle one. Have a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Linda was getting tired to making all the motions. She needed a break. Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else?
I'll second it. This is Norma.
Thank you, Norma. So Jeff made a motion, Linda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposition? No, okay. Motion moved. Next color, the green package. We are underwater. And is water main. Is that correct? Did I go wrong?
It's when you said we're underwater.
We are underwater authority, that's correct. We are seeking approval. It's in the green package, page 55 to 60. Seeking approval for the water main replacement program, cycle one. And Chuck or Jason, you will be leading that?
Yes, and I'm going to let Jason talk on this one because I didn't let you talk on it. And the last one was his project, so this is a project, our annual project to be concentrated in North Whitehall Township, and I'm gonna let Jason handle it.
Sure. Well, thank you, everybody, and good afternoon. Like Chuck said, this is part of our annual program, which we do here in our suburban divisions, just like we do in our Allentown division. This is construction phase cycle 7, so we can stay above water, not be underwater here, and mitigate some of the areas in our systems that have a high amount of leakage. And particularly in this area in our suburban division is in our North Whitehall system. Give you a little background in history. We focused in this area last year due to a high use of PVC pipe in the water system up there, which had a lot of leakage issues. We did see a lot of benefits from last year's main replacement project. So this year we prioritized our repair work to focus again in the North Whitehall division with approximately about 1.25 miles or 1.25 miles of additional water main replacement this year to be up there. So what we did is we had our design engineer put together a set of design specs, plans, and we went out to bid on this project. We had quite a few people bid on the project, which was great. Good competition in the bids. And Pact One LLC was the apparent and most responsive low bidder on the project at $1.767 million approximately. Pact One's out of Ringo's, New Jersey. We actually had Pact One on a construction project for the Veracruz Sewer Project. Brian, you may remember them from that project that we did in Veracruz. LCA, we feel like they're a good contractor, and we suggest that go ahead and move forward with them for this project as well. Along with the contractor award, part of the CPA would be professional service authorization to Gannett Fleming, and as well as Keystone Consulting Engineers as well as part of the professional service authorization. So Capital Works Department, we're looking for a total capital project authorization in the amount of $2,042,000 and $42,979, which includes the construction contract to Pact One and a professional service authorization to Gannett Fleming for construction engineering and management services, and a professional service authorization to Keystone Consulting Engineers for construction inspection.
Thank you, Jason. Any question from the board member? Board member being easy today, that just things are flying through.
Well, thank you, Amir.
I think it's because of the good job that you guys have done. No questions? Okay, so we seeking approval for amount of $2,442,979,000 of water main replacement program cycle 7. I have a motion.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Norma, helping us to move these things forward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any objections? So moved. Next topic is the wastewater. We have LCS switch transportation agreement with Upper Macungie and Lower Macungie Township in front of us. It's in white pages and digital package for 61 to 81. Lisa?
All right, so this is a topic that we've talked about a couple of times in the past, but bringing before you an agreement between Upper Macungie Township, Lower Macungie Township, and Lehigh County Authority regarding the what we're now calling the Upper Western Lehigh pump station and force main. So that's a mouthful, but essentially what that project is to address the flow restricted areas in the Western Lehigh interceptor in the Trexlertown area that we commonly call the Trexlertown bottleneck area. So this project will include construction of a pump station and a force main located around the pre-treatment plants in Vogelsville, and the force main will kind of travel west-east across the township a little bit for 1.5 miles or so, and then connect to an Upper Macungie Township trunk line. And that project will essentially remove about 2.5 million gallons per day from the Western Lehigh interceptor to relieve that bottlenecked area. and using the Upper Macungie trunk line as a conduit to achieve that for an interim period of time. The regional Kleins Island Sewer System Act 537 plan that's currently under development will include a long-term solution to this area, to this problem area. So this is viewed as an interim, short-term solution. Short-term means it could be in use for 10 or 15 years, so it's not real short-term, but it's an interim solution. The agreement that is attached to the packet is in, I would say, a final draft form. The townships have worked extensively with Phil and Amy Kunkel, Phil DePoe and Amy Kunkel in particular, on the details to make sure that it meets both townships and LCA's needs. Lower Macungie Township is a party, even though it's the Upper Macungie trunk line, Lower Macungie Township is a party because they do have flows that go through that interceptor as well. So we will be coming back next month with a project approval for construction for parts of this project. And we wanted to have this agreement in place before we do that. So we would like to have this agreement approved in substantially the same form as presented and authorize Lehigh County Authority or me, the Chief Executive Officer, forgot my title, to execute the agreement as we finalize the details of the agreement. Bill, I don't know if you have anything you want to say about it, or Mike has worked a lot on this, and Chuck, it's your project as well.
I just want to reiterate to the board that this is a dry day solution. So it's not a full comprehensive like Lisa mentioned. When it rains, we have to shut it off based on the level in the interceptor. So it's a dry day fix while we implement the final 537.
Thank you.
And I have a proposed motion that would help. Okay, so the motion would be to approve the substantial form of the sewage transportation agreement with Lower Macungie Township and Upper Macungie Township, and authorize the CEO to execute a final agreement with such modifications as she deems necessary or convenient in consultation with the authority solicitor.
Thank you. I want to make the motion.
So
I'll make
moved.
the motion.
Oh, I'll second.
Okay.
I do have a question though.
Yeah,
Motion made and second. Is there any provisions for if this is temporary and when it becomes no longer in use, if ever, are there any provisions for having to remove the piping or do any kind of restoration?
The agreement actually allows for the pipe to stay in place once it's no longer in use, if that's agreeable to the parties at that time.
Okay. But if not, who's going to pay for removal?
Well, do you know that?
No.
I'm looking at it now.
What I do know is that it's between the term of the agreement is through 2040. And I believe the language is 3 to 5 years before that time period arises. We're gonna have a chat with the townships about what to do with the assets.
Well, to be clear, the pipe will be in an LCA easement, right? So I guess technically there's nothing said about what would happen to the pipe. It could just stay in the LCA easement. I think that there have been some language about renewals that have gone back and forth, but the most recent one, I think, is consistent with what Lisa was saying, is that at the end of the original term, which is through 2040, the parties would then sit down and kind of decide where to go from there in good faith.
Brian, did you answer you want, or you have?
It's open-ended. It could, or
To be clear, Brian, in the agreement, agreement, it does say it's the authority's option. So on termination of the agreement, the authority may, at its option, leave the infrastructure in place. So that would indicate to me if we opted to remove it, that it would be our cost to remove it, but it's our option to leave it in place.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Hey, Lisa, it's Jeff. Just a quick question. The last page says Exhibit B is in boy. Is there an Exhibit A, or I didn't read the whole thing?
There is an Exhibit A. We don't have our hands on it at the moment, but Exhibit A is essentially a map of the lower Macungie Township service area that flows to that pipe. So it's not particularly relevant to the authority's role in this agreement, but it is part of the complete package that we'll get before we execute.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
So we had a motion, a second for this one, is that correct?
Yes, we have Brian make the motion and Norma second.
Good. So, all in favor, please say aye.
All right.
I
Any objection? So moved. Thank you. And the next item under the wastewater is the Lynn Township final clarifier project approval. It is in the purple pack paper and digital pages 82 to 85. And Chuck, I think you're leading the project.
Thanks, Amir. This project is to add a second final clarifier to the Lynn Township wastewater treatment plant. That treatment plant is located near Nutropoli in Lynn Township in northern Lehigh County. The plant was built in the mid-70s. We acquired the plant in 2012. The plant relies on a single 20-foot diameter final clarifier to settle all the waste and remove the total suspended solids. That the clarifier is slightly undersized for the current loads that we experience. And it does not allow, we have no redundancy, so it doesn't allow us to take the existing final clarifier down and rehab it. And do have a need to rehabilitate the existing final clarifier. And we should have redundance up there for resilience and to ensure that we comply with the discharge requirements of the NPDES permit. So this is something that's been on our radar for a number of years, the need for another final clarifier. The original plant design did provide stubbed out piping for a future additional final clarifier. So there's space reserved for it at the plant within the confines of the existing fenced area. And so we would like to get design going of another final clarifier and start construction next year.
Are you saying that this clarifier that's in there now has not been cleaned since?
That's correct. It hasn't been taken down since, well, it was added to the plant in 2001. Yes, it's about 22 years old.
Okay.
And it's been in 24/7 service ever since. So we cannot take it down because we would be in violation of our discharge requirements.
Any question for Chuck?
Hey Chuck, this is Brian. Very talkative today. Sorry. Just the size, are you going, the current clarifier, is that undersized or what to meet the needs of
It was
today's capacity?
originally, as designed, Brian, it was originally sized properly at the time. What we're finding as loads increase up there, we could use additional final clarifier capacity. It would improve the performance of the plant. Although, you know, the plant routinely is not in violation of its discharge criteria. It performs well in peak weather conditions, perhaps not so much. So it would certainly help us in peak weather conditions to comply with our NPDES discharge requirements.
So my question is more towards, are you going to install a larger clarifier to meet the current loads when, you know, you have wet weather conditions? If you're just replacing the existing one, if you have to take one of them out of service, then you're going to be back under capacity again.
Yeah, we feel that adding a second equal size final clarifier will satisfy the requirements. And in a perfect world, we would want to take down a unit when the weather allows for it, when we're not experiencing peak weather events. In a perfect world, but under average flow conditions, the existing clarifier does perform okay. It's just that we don't have any, for our resilience, we don't have any redundancy up there. So if something were to go wrong with that final clarifier, we have nothing. So we would not be in a good situation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Is that the standard procedure to have a redundancy on the clarifier?
Yes. Yes, Andrew, maybe you can add something on that. I
My
mean,
answer
it is
would be
preferred.
yes.
Thank you.
If it were to be designed in today's day and age, there would be a second
So,
layer.
I mean, when they build this plan, is that law was not in place, or it's not law, it's just the safe operating procedure that you have to have two of them in place?
It's good engineering.
It's a good engineer. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So any other question for Chuck before?
And I'll continue a little bit.
Okay.
I'm asking for this design phase authorization to do re-engineer for $93,300 and a total capital project authorization for design phase of $113,300. The consultant Dewey was selected based on their knowledge of the plan. They completed the last upgrade project up there, which was addressing a bunch of asset management issues. They did well. Their rates are fair and very competitive, and we feel they'd be the best fit for the consultant to design the final clarifier replacement.
Any other question for Chuck? Good, thank you. So we're seeking approval for the amount of $113,300 for the pre-treatment plan at the Lynn Township final clarifier project.
So moved.
Norma, who second?
Was Sean?
Sean, okay, thank you, Sean. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any objection? No.
Thank you. That's all from me.
I think you have another one, no?
I hope.
Just testing. Let's go to the last item on the wastewater. It's the pre-treatment plan and near-term facility improvement. It's yours, Adrian.
Yes, it is. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, so this afternoon, we're seeking approval for professional services authorization for preliminary design of critical improvements to the pretreatment plant. As you may recall, we completed a master plan earlier this year that identified some near-term improvements that needed to be completed, and this is basically the next step to take it to a 30% slash preliminary design of those critical aspects of the plant that are needed based on the condition of the plant and based on the consequence of losing a particular asset. So the project essentially is going to look at the entire facility and boil down what should we do in the near term and develop a 30% design and cost estimate so we know what that would look like. So it's basically a series, the scope includes a series of design tasks, workshops, meetings with the operator and with our team to develop the recommendations and then completion of the 30% design. We invited multiple firms to submit, 2 firms submitted, and we're recommending that it be awarded to AECom. AECom's has familiarity with the plant, and their scope and fee included the 30% design that we were asking for. So, yeah, in summary, we're asking for authorization for preliminary design of $282,000 and $225.
Thank you. Any question? So just clarifying, so this authorization is for defining what are the upgrade of the asset, replacement the asset, and also includes 30% of the design of whatever the new lineup is going to be.
Whatever's recommended. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the 30% is included for just about all the elements. There are a couple elements where if it goes in that direction, like some new technology, they don't have the 30% design for that because they can't really anticipate what that would be. There's a couple options, but they have most of the 30% for most of the items in there.
You anticipate with this upgrade, quote unquote, we increase the throughput of this pretreatment plant?
No, it's basically to maintain current capacity.
Okay.
Hey, AJ, it's Jeff. I have a question for you. If you're looking at the different tasks, like 1 through 10, I'm just curious how, if they're not sure what the recommended improvements are going to be, how they could give you a good design price. Should they just do the study first, figure out what's going to need to be designed, then give you that pricing?
Yeah, we had a fair amount of discussion on that topic. And the conclusion was that many of the things that are anticipated, we know what the recommendation is going to be. And so those things, they've made assumptions that, okay, for these items, this is our assumption for 30%. And it could change, but we're fairly confident that for many of them, we know what's going to happen. We know we need to improve the controls for the Purox system. We know there's going to be electrical upgrades. There are a couple items where it's not clear whether we would go with some advanced technology for clarification or just put a third clarifier in. And so they've included what they've assumed. So yeah, there are a couple things where it could change and then the fee might change, but for the most part, we think they've got what's needed for the majority of the items.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other question from the board member? No. Okay, seeking approval for $282,225 for pretreatment plan and near-term facility improvements.
So moved.
Thank you, Norma.
Second.
You got a second then? Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you. That was the last item on the wastewater, if I'm not mistaken. Monthly project update. Lisa?
All right, well, first of all, I want to thank the board for the attention on all of these detailed items on today's agenda. There's a lot of information shared, and your attention is really appreciated, so we can keep these projects moving. The monthly project update report that was included with the packet shows a lot of items that we already covered, so I'm not going to go through them. Just a couple of things to point out. The monthly financial review and the monthly operations report are the only two items we currently have planned for the meeting on the 27th. So your hard work today may pay off, and we may submit those items to you just as a report out, and potentially cancel that meeting. We'll let you know a little closer to that if other items come up that require a meeting. So that's the good news. I also want to point out the strategic plan quarterly progress report we had planned to do today until we saw the full listing of all the projects that are on today's agenda. So in order to give that the full attention that we think it requires, we're going to do that in December. And specifically that report out, we are looking forward to hearing from AJ about asset management and capital program management, as well as safety. So those would be the two areas of our strategic plan that we focus on in December. I wanted to give you that highlight. In the project update section of the report, there's a couple of items that are previews to what you'll also see on the agenda in December related to some projects now in town. And then on the open project list, there are a couple of projects that are going to be removed next month. I just wanted to draw your attention to the Suburban Water Main Replacement Program, Cycle 6, as well as the Allentown Water Main Replacement Program, Cycle 6. Those projects are done and will be removed from the list. And then also the Klein's Island digester cleaning project for this year is completed. That'll be removed as well. Is there any questions on the projects?
Board member, any question on the project? Thank you. As Lisa mentioned, we had a heavy load today and we went through them pretty fast, but also it helped a lot to the thorough write-up and the input that the whole LCA team put together that make it a lot easier with the background to go through them. So thank you for your efforts. Hey, any staff comments?
I have two brief comments.
Please.
First of all, I'd like to acknowledge and recognize Mike Gall as our solicitor since late 2019. He's moving off into some other responsibilities next year. And so just want to thank Mike for the service to the authority over these many years. Also wanted to just share an update on communication with the municipalities about the Klein's Island Sewer System Act 537 plan. We had a kickoff meeting or a kickoff of the program, the communications program last week with I would say a very successful meeting with South Whitehall Township. We were able to get on their agenda as a special meeting, so we'll give it a little more attention and dedicated conversation. This week and over the next 4 weeks, we'll be attending multiple municipal meetings and giving shorter versions of that longer presentation and answering questions directly from each municipality that's invited LCA to attend. So just wanted to make sure the board's aware that we're out there now. You've seen some of the media coverage about it. And if there are any questions that you're receiving as board members, would like to have those funneled through me or through Sue Sampson so that we can get them accurately responded to.
Thank you, Sue. Solicitor comments.
I get the feeling this is my last meeting, but I wanted to say publicly that, and I've said this before, but I don't think the public understands how much work LCA does as an organization, and maybe that in some ways is the best way to be an organization, and that, you know, everyone, people assume everything is going to work correctly when they turn their faucets on and they flush their toilets, but the amount of work that the board does and that the management staff does, in my mind, is just incredible. Whenever I talk about Lisa with one of my partners or staff or whatever, I comment on her ability to how much work she's actually able to do. It's just mind blowing to me. But I think that the public spirit of this organization is excellent, and I'm proud to be a part of it, or have been a part of it.
Thank you, Mike. Any public comment?
No comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Any board member comment?
This is Brian. Sorry to have kicked you out of your last meeting there, Mike, but I do want to say that we've been really happy with your performance. You've been a really solid performer, and we'll miss you. Thank you. Hopefully you have one more meeting, won't you?
Should be noted too, you came in during a rough time with COVID and everything.
That's what I was looking back, it seems like it was a long time, because things were a lot different back then, and then COVID changed a lot of things, and it was kind of disruptive, but you know, you guys, LSA didn't miss a heartbeat, and I think that one of the things that I kind of learned, and it was backed up by, I think, the federal commentary, is that water and sewer are essential utilities, and you can't have a healthy society without those things being in place and maintained. So,
Thank you, Mike. Well, I think that brings us to the end of the meeting. Thank you for your participation, and have a great week and a great holiday. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.